AITA for calling out my husband after he panicked over my parents' birthday gift box? On my birthday, my parents sent me a gift box. Mark saw it, stared at it for a second too long and told me, "Don't open it." I laughed. "Why?" He pointed at the label. "Look closely, don't you see it?" I got closer. I really looked at it, and my blood ran cold. I did not open it, I did something else. Half an hour later, the police were knocking on my door. I have never been one to make a big deal out of my birthday. I do not throw parties, I do not post pictures with balloons or motivational quotes. Honestly, sometimes I even forget the date, until my husband buys me a coffee and makes a silly joke about marrying a woman who is far too serious. That is enough for me. That is why, when my mom called me the day before with that sickeningly sweet voice she only uses when she wants to dump a problem on you disguised as a nice gesture, I knew something was wrong. "Oh honey, we sent you a little surprise. It should arrive tomorrow right on time." Right on time. As if they had ever been on time for anything having to do with me. I played along. "Oh well, thank you." She laughed. She did not let out a normal little laugh. She almost sang. My mom never laughs like that. "It is no big deal," she said. "Just a little something so you know how much we love you." I should have understood everything right then, not just because of what she said, but because she said "we love you," without following it up with a criticism or some remark about how sensitive I am. But a foolish part of you always wants to believe, even if they have given you crumbs your whole life, even if you have trained yourself to expect nothing. A very ridiculous part of me thought, maybe they are actually trying this time. The next day was my birthday. Mark made me pancakes and let me drink coffee in bed, while he took a work call in the living room. Everything was calm, quiet, comfortable, and then the apartment buzzer rang. When I went to the door, I saw a medium-sized cardboard box on the welcome mat. It had no ribbon, no card, nothing that looked like a birthday present. It was just a standard brown shipping box sealed with packing tape, with a printed UPS label, as if it had been put together by a machine. Mark picked it up, brought it into the kitchen and left it on the counter. Then he just stood there staring at it. Not a passing glance, a fixed stare. "My parents sent me that," I told him. "My mom called me yesterday." He did not answer. "According to her, it is a gift." Mark then spoke. "Don't open it." I looked at him. "What, you think it is cursed or something?" He did not laugh. He just pointed at the label. "Look closely." I got closer. At first, I saw the same thing anyone would see. My name, my address, a printed shipping label. The sender listed as a P.O. box in a town I did not recognize. Nothing handwritten, nothing personal, nothing from their street in the suburbs, nothing that looked like my parents had actually packed it themselves. I felt cold. Mark touched the corner of the box with one finger. "Right there," he said. "Don't you see it?" I leaned in closer and then I saw it. It was not fear. Not yet. It was something else. That horrible feeling when something clicks into place too fast, and at the same time you do not want to understand it. I did not say anything. Neither did Mark. He just stepped back a little, and right at that moment my cell phone rang. It was my mom. Mark looked at the screen. I looked at him. I answered and put it on speaker. "Honey, did it arrive yet?" I stayed quiet for a second. Mark did not move. My finger hovered near the end call button, but I did not hang up. "Yes," I told her. "It is here." "Did you open it already?" I turned to look at the box. "Yes," I lied. "Yes, I opened it. It is very pretty. Thank you." "Oh honey, we just wanted to remind you how much we love you. You are our little girl. Never forget that." The breath was knocked out of me because my mom had never spoken to me like that. Not when I graduated college, not when I married Mark, not when 2 years ago I cried in her living room after a serious medical setback. Never, she had never spoken to me with such tenderness. Mark held my gaze. I barely shook my head. "We thought you deserved something nice," she continued in that sing-song voice. "You have always been strong. Always." And she hung up. We stayed in silence. The box was still there between us, as if it were waiting for something. "I hate it when she acts nice," I finally said. "I know," Mark replied. "She only calls me honey like that when she is lying to me, Claire. And they never send gifts. Not even for Christmas. Do you remember when they gave Maya a really expensive watch, and got me a wonky candle that looked like it was bought at a Walgreens. Mark let out a short laugh. I am almost sure that candle was already used. I think so too. We stood there a while longer. I wanted to throw the box out the window and at the same time set it on fire. I suppose that sums up my family pretty well. Finally I sat down. Mark made me some tea, and the box stayed on the counter without either of us touching it again. Half an hour later, there was a knock on the door. It was not a neighbor, it was not a delivery driver, it was 2 police officers. Claire Miller. I nodded. We received a report about a package delivered to this address. May we come in to ask a few questions? And that is where I would have to stop if I wanted to tell a nice story. But to understand how we got there, first you have to understand Maya. Maya is my younger sister, younger by 3 years, but lighter than me by a whole ton of responsibility. If I was the one who followed through, she was the one who was feeling overwhelmed. If I was the one who remembered birthdays, bill payments, and chores, she was the one who could not handle so much pressure right now. It was always like that. She was the golden child. Not the studious or brilliant version, no. She was the golden child because in my house, everything revolved around not making her feel bad. She cried easily. That was her superpower. I did not cry. That was my mistake. I think I was 8 years old the first time I was blamed for something I did not do. There was a hideous vase in the hallway, dark green, heavy, probably worthless, but treated as if it were a family heirloom. One day it broke. It sounded so loud. I went out into the hallway and saw Maya standing in front of the shattered pieces with a trembling lip. As soon as I saw her, I knew what was coming. My mom, Susan, came running, saw the mess, and Maya pointed at me. Claire did it. Just like that, no warm-up, shameless, clean. I had not even touched the vase, I had not even walked by there. But I did not say anything because I was the oldest, because Maya was crying, because I already knew that script. My mom looked at me as if I were an old problem she was too lazy to solve anymore. You are the big sister. You should have been watching her. They sent me to my room. They gave Maya a lollipop to calm her down. And that was how it stayed once again. I must have been about 12 years old. Maya took my favorite sweater. It was a gift from my grandmother. She wore it to school, got paint on it in art class, and then said it was my fault for not warning her that it was special. My mom even nodded as if that made sense. Why did not you put it away better, Claire? You know Maya still does not quite understand boundaries. She still does not quite understand boundaries. They told me that for years. Maya never apologized. She would say I was exaggerating. Then she would cry, then they would buy her ice cream, and I slowly learned a very ugly lesson. The truth does not always protect you. Sometimes the only thing that protects you is making a scene. And I was never good at that. When we grew up, we were not exactly sisters anymore. We were 2 people who had lived in the same house and who learned to size each other up whenever my parents were around. Maya did not want to get a college degree. She took a yoga certification course, then she wanted to sell essential oils. Then she opened an Instagram account where she posted spiritual art, which were really just copied quotes, pictures of pretty mugs, and other people's beach photos. Then she wanted to sell soaps, then candles, then decorative pieces from her Etsy shop. Everything went wrong for her, but never completely. In my house, nothing of hers ever failed. It all evolved. She is finding her path, my mom would say. She has a creative soul, my dad, Richard, would say. Not everyone was born for the same thing, Claire. The funniest part is that I never cared that Maya did not follow a conventional route. The only thing I wanted was for her to pay me back the $700 she borrowed for her failed artisanal soap line. But not even that. She never paid me back. No one ever demanded that she do it. A year ago, my mom called to invite me to lunch. Just me. She said it as if it were a prize. We went to one of those trendy restaurants she always criticizes for being expensive, but loves when she wants to feel fancy. You know, small plates, reclaimed wood tables, cucumber water. Maya was already there drinking a green juice and wearing those I am creative clothes that look like they were bought for a photo shoot. Both of them were acting too nice, way too nice. We ordered food, made small talk, and then Maya dropped what she really wanted. Hey, I wanted to ask you a favor, she said. Can I use your name and your address for something? Just for a business account for a little project I am working on. It is nothing weird. It is just that I am between apartments right now, and you are so good at all that. You are so stable. That word, stable. In my family, it always meant the same thing. Boring, predictable, easy to burden. My mom jumped in. It would only be temporary. You are good with paperwork. It seemed logical to us. I did not get angry, I did not raise my voice, and I did not take long. I just said no. A dry, non-aggressive, non-negotiable no. Maya blinked, smiled very quickly. Well, it is no big deal. But it was a big deal. After that came the freeze out, not with a fight but worse, with coldness. The Thanksgiving invitation got lost. My dad sent me a passive-aggressive email about how sad it was when someone did not support family projects. Maya unfollowed me on social media. I did not even notice until a friend told me. I kept telling myself it did not matter. It did matter. A part of me thought they would get over it, that they would respect my boundaries, that saying no was not going to turn me into the villain, but no. They simply moved on without me. And honestly, that gave me peace. Silence is better than chaos. Mark and I had built a very quiet life in our Chicago apartment, where you almost never hear anything more than the building's buzzer and the distant rumble of the L train. A stable job, a good husband. No one screaming, no one crying when it suited them. No broken vase in the hallway. That is why, when the box showed up at my door right on my birthday, I knew. It was not a nice gesture, it was not love, it was a maneuver. Mark pointed at the box again. Right there, don't you see it? I leaned in again. And now I saw the whole picture. It was not just the label, it was everything. The typography, the packing tape, the way the seal was folded, the alignment of the barcode, those types of things you only notice if you have seen them up close before, and I had already seen them. Months ago, Mark and I stopped by Maya's apartment to return some plates. Her entryway looked like a warehouse, boxes everywhere, packing foam, tape, stacks of printed shipping labels. She was buried in packaging, claiming it was inventory for her online shop. I picked up a box and she immediately told me to put it down. The supplier is very strict, she told me. Strict, not careful, not serious, strict. And now that same supplier was sending a box straight to my house, with my name and my address, as if I were the buyer or the person in charge. It was not a recycled box, it was not something my parents had packed at home. It was a brand new shipment, a shipment made on purpose. And because of how it was put together, because of the shipping label, the type of packaging, and the supplier's code, Mark and I understood the exact same thing at the exact same time. It was not a gift, it was merchandise placed at my door to tie me to something. After I hung up the call with my mom, I did something else. I set my phone to record the next call. One came in. Not out of paranoia, but for clarity, because I had already figured it out. They were not sending me a gift, they were sending me a problem with my name slapped on it. When the police officers entered the apartment, Mark stood by my side. Both of them looked at the box on the counter. That is it, I said. One of them stepped closer and inspected it without touching it. First. Was it addressed to you? Yes. Did you open it? No. Do you know who sent it? My parents told me it was a birthday present. The other officer looked around the kitchen as if another box might appear under the table. Will you allow us to open it here? I nodded. They put on gloves. They opened it carefully. Inside there were decorative pieces, little figurines, pretty wrapping, a certificate of authenticity, foam, paper, and a packing slip with my name on it. Everything very clean, very put together, very fake. One of the police officers inspected one of the pieces, then scanned a barcode, and exchanged a look with his partner. Do you know what this is? He asked me. It looks like decoration. I do not know anything else. Do you know where it came from? No, I already told you they sent it to me as a gift. Do you have a way to prove that? I took out my cell phone and played the recording of my mom. Did it arrive yet? We just wanted to remind you how much we love you. You are our little girl. I stopped it right there. It was enough. The officer nodded. We are going to secure the box. For now, you are not considered a suspect, but the shipment matches merchandise related to an ongoing investigation. That made everything fall into an even worse place. It was not that the box had become suspicious just by arriving at my house. It was that they were already tracking it, or tracking the network surrounding those pieces, and someone tried to use me as a way out. I felt that the coffee still warm in my mug was a rude joke from the universe. They closed the box again, picked it up and left. 3 hours later, my cell phone rang again. I did not have to look at the screen to know who it was. I answered. My mom's voice was no longer sweet. How could you? I did not answer. Did you tell them that belonged to Maya? I told them who sent me the box. Do you know what this means for her? Yes. You could have stayed quiet. You could have said it was a mistake. A mistake. You sent merchandise to my house in my name, and then you called me to confirm that it arrived. Silence. Then my dad's voice chimed in. Low and measured, the way he always uses it when he wants to sound reasonable. We thought they were just going to pick it up, and that would be it. We did not think they would keep tracking it. But you did think they were going to pin it on me. Claire, you are strong. You have always been strong. There was the explanation, the same one as always. They used my house. Maya is not cut out for something like this, my mom said. You can bounce back, and that is why you threw this on me. You do not have children, my dad blurted out. We thought it would be easier for you to get through it. I stayed quiet because, in reality, that was the truth. It was not an emergency, it was not an accident, it was not a mix-up. They had done the math. They had decided that my life was the most expendable. You were always the cold one, my mom said. And look what you caused. I did not answer. I hung up. Mark came back from giving some information to the police officers and brought 2 cups of tea. He placed one in front of me, sat down, and did not ask anything. I looked at the empty space where the box had been. They really thought I was going to open it, I said. Yes, he replied. And that was the worst part, not that they had tried it, but that they truly believed they knew me so little and could use me so easily. A week later, a detective called me. I was in the middle of breakfast. Mark had already left for work. The sun was streaming beautifully through the window. It felt like one of those days when life finally settles down. Of course, it did not last. Claire Miller. Yes. We need to confirm some information. Your name appears on several documents related to your sister's commercial activity. I laughed, not out of amusement but out of exhaustion. That would be interesting because I do not own any business. Have you registered any company or activity under your name related to the sale of decorations, merchandise resale, or import shipments? No. Have you authorized anyone to handle accounts, signatures, or emails on your behalf? No. He sent me some files. I opened one. It took me 3 seconds to see that the signature was not mine. Said my name, yes, but it was not my handwriting. It was the imitation of someone who had glanced at my signature once and thought that would be enough. Do you recognize this signature? No. Do you recognize this email? No. Did your family have access at any point to copies of your ID or documents? I paused there. Yes, I said, years ago. I used to trust them with those things. That was the last time I ever said that phrase out loud. The detective explained what they had found, or he tried to. My head turned half of it into noise, but I understood enough. There was a commercial activity operating under my name, a fake email, a previous address of mine, tied to paperwork, signed documents, a digital trail that led back to devices used by Maya, and I appeared as a silent partner for over a year. It was not just a creative project. It was a resale and handling operation for pieces with forged papers, using my information to cover up what she did not want to put under her own name. We need a formal statement that you never authorized any of this, he told me. I sent it that same afternoon. I included a copy of my real signature just in case anyone had any doubts. He thanked me for my cooperation and hung up. He did not promise justice. He did not tell me what was going to happen, and as strange as it sounds, that felt more honest than everything else I had heard in months. After that came the silence. For a few days nothing happened, no calls, no updates, no news. I no longer knew what scared me more, that everything would keep moving without my knowledge or that nothing would move at all. And then everything moved all at once. Over the following weeks, more pieces began to fall. Maya was indicted for mail fraud, identity theft, forgery, and trafficking in goods with counterfeit origins. My parents were flagged for aiding and abetting. I will not get into more technicalities because I did not even want to memorize them myself. The important thing was this. Finally, their actions had a name. Maya accepted a plea deal in part. My parents also ended up admitting to things. There were heavy fines, restrictions, a criminal record, community service, and probation that they could no longer sweep under the rug. They avoided jail time, but they could not keep playing innocent either. I did not go to the hearing. I did not need to see Maya crying in a beige blazer while my mom squeezed her hand as if she were the victim. Later I read the transcript. My name appeared over and over again. Not a single apology, not one. The only thing that came out of Maya was the same cowardice as always, wrapped up in phrases about pressure, confusion, and bad decisions. Not a single straight line, not a single complete truth. Then they asked to see me. Not Maya, just my parents. I agreed for a very simple reason. I wanted to hear them one last time so I would not be left with the fantasy that maybe they would regret it. We met at a coffee shop near the courthouse. I arrived 10 minutes late and bought the most expensive pastry I saw just because they were already seated. My mom had that look of rapid calculation she always uses to try to guess which expression will give her the best result. I did not even sit down right away. We did not know Maya was using your name like that, my mom said. Did you ask? She tensed up. She said it was only for shipping. Right, because that is how fraud works. First, they tell you it is just a little favor. My dad cleared his throat. He always does that when he runs out of arguments. We thought it was something temporary. She said you would not mind. Did she also say I was going to open the box? Neither of them answered. You were wrong, I said. We did not think it would go this far, my mom blurted out. You mean you did not think you were going to get caught? They stayed quiet. Then my mom tried to deliver the final blow. You have always been stronger, Claire. You do not have children. You do not have anyone depending on you. We thought you would be able to bounce back. Just like that, shameless, as if that fixed anything, as if it were a noble explanation. You sacrificed me, I said, because you decided that my life was easier to lose. It was not like that, my dad said. I looked at him. You did not ask, you did not want to know. You just looked for someone you could dump this on so Maya would not have to carry it. At that point, neither of them had the courage to tell me no. And in that moment I realized something. I was no longer angry. I no longer wanted to convince them of anything. I no longer expected anything, I was just tired. I stood up. My coffee was half full. I did not take it with me. I hope the community service helps you understand, even if it is late, what it means to do something without using another person. And I left. That same night I blocked them. I deleted phone numbers, emails, access, emergency contacts, backups, everything. Not out of a tantrum, but out of necessity. They no longer had the right to enter my life. Neither the real version nor the one they invented of me for years. The next morning Mark brought me coffee in bed. We sat in silence. The light came in warmly through the window. Everything felt clean. Are you okay? He asked me. I took a sip. I am done. He did not ask with what. There was no need. Because I was not just done with the problem of the box, I was done with an older habit, letting myself be used so that others could be kept safe. If I understood anything after all this, it is that there are boundaries in a family too, and setting them does not make you a bad daughter, a bad sister, or a bad person. Sometimes we are taught to keep quiet so as not to make noise, to give in so as not to be an inconvenience, to carry things that are not ours because we are the strong ones. But that is not love. That is habit, fear, or abuse disguised as an obligation. Comment. I wanted to share this story because it touches on something incredibly important. Setting boundaries is not an act of aggression. It is a fundamental act of self-respect. Many of us are taught to be the strong one, but that strength should never come at the cost of our own peace. True kindness must always include being kind to yourself first. We are responsible for our own choices, and we are never responsible for the consequences of someone else's actions. Healing often begins the moment you decide that your well-being is not up for negotiation. Sometimes, choosing peace means letting go of relationships that consistently ask you to sacrifice it. You have the right to protect your energy and build a life that feels safe and authentic. I hope this story encourages you to honor your own needs and value your own journey. Remember to be gentle with yourself throughout that process. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.